Right behind me, I've got 20 inches of documents. One of the documents I have is on the construction of Marlins Park, on the funding of Marlins Park, the financing of the construction budget. When we were doing Marlins Park, we went out to all the concessionaires, Aramark, Levy, Legends, and some others. And we said, we'd like you to bid on becoming our concession partner. Here's the RFP. We hired a consultant. His name was Christopher Bigelow, as I recall. Christopher, a shout out to you. And if I have it wrong and you were a consultant for something else, I'm sorry. But I think you were our food services consultant. An RFP, request for proposal. Here's what we want. We want your money. We'd like the food to be good. We're going to do a tasting, but frankly, we're not that concerned about the quality of the food, but we're going to say we are publicly. But really what we're concerned about, the RFP doesn't call for a certain salt content in the dogs or in the burgers or a certain way to make popcorn. The RFP doesn't discuss that. Funny enough, the RFP says we're going to have 24 concession stands. We're going to have 6 kitchens. The cost of building out these concession areas and the kitchens is going to be $70 million. We would like you to pay for it. Are you interested? And then the companies would respond and say, we'll pay for that $70 million, but here's how you pay us back. You pay us back every time someone buys a hot dog. Instead of getting $1 for every hot dog, we want $2 for every hot dog. We've looked at your projections where you're saying you're going to get 30,000 people a game. You're going to draw 2.4 million. And we assume that half of those people will eat one hot dog. That's 1 million hot dogs. We will make $1 per year on hot dogs. Let's move on to soft drinks and beer. Literally, that's the negotiation. You're negotiating over a commission structure, meaning how much money does the team get during the course of the year? How much money does the concessionaire get during the course of the year for all of the F&B, food and beverage, that is purchased by fans? We submit financials and pro forma projections to the concessionaire. We expect 30,000 a game. Here's what we expect them to eat, drink, and be merry. The concessionaire then says, I don't think so, guys. The Marlins have never drawn 30,000. I bet you're only going to draw 20,000. Therefore, we're not going to make more than 10 million on the hot dogs. Therefore. What's the therefore? The therefore cubed is, well, we'll give you 70 million, but the concession commission rate we want is one bigger than what you're offering. We want an extra 10 cents per beer. Whatever the case is, it's math. In math, it's only as good as the assumptions you make. I will never forget sitting with Levy, who ended up being our concessionaire, and going through what I knew Marlins Park would be. Man, it's going to be great. We're going to have people there. We're going to get 2 million fans. We're going to win games. We're going to win another World Series. We're going to have a roof. It's going to be heaven. And it ended up being HE double hockey sticks. No fans, no winning. Do you know what that leads to? That leads to Levy or any concessionaire saying to themselves, we believed you. Didn't turn out to be the case. Now we've gotten totally screwed because we gave you all that money to build out the concession areas. And now we have no way to get it paid back. These concession companies become banks. John Fisher and the Aths have been unable to borrow the money required to build the stadium. They've been unable to get financing. They've been unable to get limited partners to buy in at that crazy $2 billion valuation. So what do? They go to Aramark and they say, listen, Aramark, you want to be our partner? You want to be in Vegas? Here's how it's going to work. Not only are you going to give $75 million to build out the concession areas, they called it in this announcement a CapEx investment. But that's horse hockey. What that is money being used for construction of the ballpark. Capital expenditures, like a capital reserve fund, is meant to fix the ballpark. You do CapEx after a ballpark is built. You can label anything what you want. The money that you have that is part of the construction cost, we don't view that as CapEx. But John Fisher can do whatever he wants. But the $75 million that Aramark gave them, that is standard operating procedure. Concession companies do this with ballparks in order to get the concession bid, because teams go around to banks and they borrow money, and then they run out of credit. They can't borrow any more money. So what do? You go to a concessionaire and say, will you be my friend? Because getting money up front from a concessionaire does not count against what your debt limits are. It actually is a source of money to be used to build a ballpark. Do you know what else can be used to do that? When you do a TV deal and get upfront money from your TV partner. I've done it. I walked right into Cablevision's offices in 2004, and I said, I want to sign Carlos Delgado. Will you please give me a TV deal that gives me $40 million today so I can use that money to cover payroll to try to win another World Series? And they said, no problem. But every other year of this TV deal, when you would have gotten $20 million, you're only going to get 15. So every year you're going to get screwed, but this year you're going to be happy. How do you figure out those numbers? There is something called the discount rate. What the discount rate means is that you take a flow of funds. Think about the Ohtani deal, which you think is $700 million over 10 years, but it's payable over 20 years, which is why it was worth about $450 million for 10 years, according to the union and the league. The overall amount of money was discounted, and you have to negotiate at what rate you discount. When you get money up front for something, that person gets paid back. When a concessionaire gives you money up front to build out your concession areas so that you get some relief on your construction budget, you pay it back. And the negotiation is, how quickly does it get paid back? What's the discount rate? And what are the assumptions on fans? And when one of those assumptions turns out not to be true, someone's getting screwed. So the concessionaires got smart. And they said, you know what, Vegas? You're thinking you're going to get 5,000 to 7,000 tourists every single game, like on a Tuesday in August to come to a game? Good luck. And you think you're going to get 25,000 people in that Sydney Opera House on a meaningless game when your team stinks in August? Well, that would make you different than every other team in baseball. Literally. NGTH, baby, not going to happen. So, given the fact that I can't count on the projections that you're giving me, I have an idea. I'll take a piece of the team. Interesting. Aramark got in the business of taking equity in the underlying asset. But here's the question. At what value? If you're saying that they put $100 million into the team, did they get 1%? Did they get 10%? Did they get 5%? And is that percentage able to be diluted? What that means, pretend that you buy something and you own 50% of it, and you put in $100 for something that's worth $200 and you got 50% of it. But then let's say someone else puts in another $50. That means that 3 people have put in $50. Instead of owning 50%, you now only own 33%. You've gone from 50 to 33. You've been diluted. You can do a deal with someone when you put in money that you don't ever get diluted. Whatever beneficial percentage you own of the asset, you always own no matter what. It doesn't happen often, but you can negotiate it. The more likely scenario is that when you buy into something, when you get equity of an asset, when someone else buys into it, everybody who's an existing owner gets diluted. So you've got to look between the lines. You've got to look at the documents before you make an evaluation of what type of investment this was. Aramark is full of smart people doing smart things. John Fisher has a very smart family business. The reason why this drew my attention is that everyone is out there saying how different this is, what Aramark is doing, but it's not. They're merely protecting themselves from the almost certainty that the ass will not perform in Vegas the way they're projecting to.